Hey everybody, and welcome back to Force Fandom, the show where one person tries to force another to like a thing that they love. I'm your host, Taylor Olmstead, and with me to continue talking about the WB/CW sitcom/drama/cult TV show, it's journalist Emily Bamforth. Hi, Emily.
Journalist Emily Bamforth says hi, because apparently that's part of my name.
I just feel like it's important sometimes to preface you with what you are professionally.
Okay, marketing guy Taylor Olmstead.
You bet. So this week we watched A-Tisket A-Tasket. It's a Gilmore Girls episode about baskets.
And last time I remember that Taylor was like, this show is so kitschy sometimes. Like, I hate it. And then, well, not I hate it, but he was like, it's so kitschy. And now I have given him almost the kitschiest episode.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this was a real step backwards for me in terms of the kitsch level.
But in terms of the growth and development of characters level, wasn't it great?
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. So let's get into it. Stars Hollow has a basket exchange because, you know, what good small town in New England doesn't have a basket exchange?
This is the dumbest tradition ever.
I kind of want it to happen in my town. But then again, like, they also have, like, knitting marathons in Stars Hollow and stuff like that. And as much as I appreciate some good kitsch, I am not a knitter, nor am I a basket creator. I am more a Lorelai system of creating a basket as opposed to Rory.
The Lorelai system of Pop-Tarts and Cheetos?
Yep, which is my daily diet anyway. So basically, the premise of this is that the girls make a basket, and then the guys bid on the basket. And when you bid on the basket, you get to have lunch with that person. So you're basically bidding on a date, which, cool, I guess. So everybody's getting their baskets ready. Lorelai's not very good at hers. And Rory has some guy to buy her basket. It's her boyfriend, Dean, who's still basically a paper towel of a person.
Hey, now, he has thoughts and feelings and something, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, he's literate. He reads things. Basically, I don't feel like there's too much in the beginning of this episode to go over, unless there's anything that really stood out to you. So we can go straight to the action.
There are two things that stood out to me here. First of all, Miss Patty is trying to set Lorelai up with a bunch of strangers. She's, like, asking for pictures of Lorelai and, like, asking around town and people outside of town to date her, which is a little concerning, and it becomes a plot point later in the episode. And also, Jess is a creepy stalker.
Jess is not a creepy stalker.
He is so a creepy stalker. He just appears out of nowhere to be a dick, and I am not a fan.
It is Stars Hollow. Many people appear out of nowhere. He is kind of a dick. But
I think he's stalking them.
I don't think he's stalking them. I think it's a very small town. And also, he's a boy in love. And he's not threatening her in any way.
Anyway. Also,
we can agree to disagree.
Suki, should I renew my lease? Well, do you like your apartment? Well, I mean, I like my apartment, but should I renew my... Oh, that scene was so painful.
Well, it's such a real conversation, I feel, though. Like, I feel like that would totally happen, and especially in this relationship where it's, like, two people that are incredibly not aggressive.
We totally skipped plot points there, by the way, for those playing along at home.
Oh, did I have you skip an entire another relationship?
I mean, I knew that they were dating, that's about it.
Oh, well, they're dating. It's serious.
It's things are getting pretty serious.
Yeah, do you like Jackson and Suki together?
Yeah, they're fine. I mean, like you said, they're pretty passive-aggressive with each other, which, you know, feels real and stuff.
Yeah. Then the basket lunch auction is happening. Yay! However, things don't go as planned. Oh, no!
Yeah, so the nice young hoodlum, a.k.a. Jess, wins Rory in the basket auction, and Dean is really mad. Like,
I'm gonna kill you, Tristan!
Yeah, like that level of mad. And there's almost a fight, and it gets real. Also, what's his name? Kirk outbids Jackson for Suki's basket.
But it's because Jackson won't bid on it.
Right, because he's mad because Suki doesn't want to move in with him. And then Suki gets mad at Jackson, and Jackson is mad at Suki, and Rory is mad at Dean because Dean is mad at Jess, and Jess just doesn't really care. He just wants to be with Rory because he has a thing for her. And Lorelai's basket comes up, and all these creepy men from all over town and outside of town are bidding on her, and she doesn't like it. And so she runs to the diner to be double pathetic in front of everyone in there and force Luke to buy her basket. There, did I miss anything?
Nope.
Oh, yeah, I did. Lane's mom is still a bitch.
Oh, yeah, Lane. Lane's mom is very strict. Mrs. Kim just wants the best for her daughter.
And so her daughter has to use a cousin as a decoy to get a guy to then get her basket so that they can be on a secret date that involves changing clothes and jumping out of cars and hiding behind things, and it's a mess.
It's a mess.
But no, that was a fun plot point. I really enjoyed that. The whole Lane storyline here was actually kind of fun, when normally I find her really irritating.
I like Lane. I don't think she does a whole lot for the plot a lot of the time. Like, she's just kind of there for no apparent reason. But I liked this part of her arc. Jess and Rory go to have lunch, but not before some back and forth about whether or not Rory will eat with Jess.
Yeah, Dean is trying to weasel his way out of this, and Rory's like, it's tradition! Even though 3 scenes ago she said that the tradition was stupid, which was kind of annoying. I mean, I know she's just manipulating it because she wants to spend time with Jess, but it's annoying.
They're friends, Taylor.
Right, they're such good friends that they go to the lake together alone.
They sit on the dock.
Mm-hmm.
But then what happens? There's a very significant thing that happens.
She drops her necklace and he picks it up and then fade to black.
It's a bracelet, but that's okay. Typical men not realizing what a bracelet is.
Excuse me for not paying attention to the jewelry at the end of this episode because I was too busy thinking about other things, like all of the other characters whose stakes are way higher.
But wait, do you not know you don't know the significance of the bracelet, do you?
Nope.
Oh, flip. Okay, moral of the story. Hello, Gilmore Girls fans. If you are going to make your friend try and understand Gilmore Girls, please don't give him scattered episodes. He won't understand things like the significance of Rory's bracelet. Rory's bracelet was given to her by Dean. Dean made it for her. It was one of the first things that, kicked off their relationship because he showed up outside her birthday party and gave her this bracelet, and when he gave her the bracelet, he tied it on, and I believe Lorelai saw them. Anyway, so the bracelet has been the equivalent of wearing his Letterman jacket or having his class.
Yeah, this makes sense now. That makes that scene more important because once again, without that context, this just played into my Jess is a creepy stalker who takes Rory's things headcanon.
Well, it kind of adds on to Jess as a creepy stalker who takes Rory's things because he's like, yes, I know that this is going to cause trouble.
Does he know that?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe he's pointed out the bracelet before. And so he's like, I'm going to cause chaos and takes the bracelet. We'll see how that unfolds later, but not just yet. Also, there are some pretty aggressive ducks in that lake.
There are some pretty aggressive ducks in that lake.
Fun fact. So, at the end of the day, the thing doesn't work out with Henry and Lane. They are not...
He doesn't want to date a girl in secret.
No.
And
he does not.
Lane's mom doesn't realize that he's Korean.
Yeah.
He breaks it off with her over the phone, and then Lane's mom figures out because Lane is really upset. And then Lane tells her that he was a nice boy and he went to church and he was even Korean. And Lane's mom gets really upset because she realizes that she has come between her daughter and a nice Korean boy. And then she repeatedly asks, are you sure he's Korean? As if, that makes it better.
For Lane, I feel like this is a really important point because you didn't see this, but like this is a long-winded thing. Henry goes to Chilton and they met at a party and they've been doing this whole thing the entire time. And you never really quite understand why she's hiding this guy from Mrs. Kim. Because he is everything that she wanted for her daughter. And I think it's kind of a sense of rebellion, but it's also this thing is mine and I don't want to ruin it. But at the end of the day, I think that it's a lot less like Mrs. Kim's a bitch and like doesn't want her daughter seeing anyone than Lane kind of having this just very... Lynn and her mother having this very screwed up relationship where they can't tell each other anything, and it's something that's going to continue.
Well, and that's really important, especially in this episode, because it's a nice contrast for Lorelai and Rory, who tell each other everything.
Literally everything.
Like,
it's
almost
insane.
to an unhealthy level.
Definitely to an unhealthy level. So, Suki and Jackson talk about it because communication is great. And figure out that's what it was. And then they get engaged.
Yeah, because moving in isn't big enough.
Nah, fam. They do things all at one time.
That was a nice scene. It was cute.
My favorite, though, is when Jackson goes to try and buy the basket from Kirk.
Yes, and we realize that Kirk has a very sad life.
Kirk doesn't have very much.
No. He really doesn't. But enough about Kirk, because he's boring and sad. Let's talk about Luke and Lorelai.
He's boring, nor is he sad. He is sad.
He's boring and sad.
He is not boring, nor is he sad. Kirk is the best. We're all rooting for Kirk, secretly.
Well, let's talk about Luke and Lorelai, because I feel like this is one of those episodes where, like, we're supposed to root for them, but maybe not, but maybe? So we said earlier that Lorelai goes into the diner and she forces Luke to buy her basket. And then they're sitting there eating their basket, and Luke's like, I'm not having this. And so he gets up to leave, and she's like, where are you going? And he's like, this is dumb, I'm gonna go get food from the diner, and he does that, and whatever. And they're sitting there eating again and having a cute little moment where he's like, this actually isn't that bad. And all of a sudden, surprise Dean!
Hi, Lorelai, I'm so sad. Because Rory they look at each other.
This scene made me so mad.
It's just weird, right? Like, it's just a weird thing.
And it plays so much into this, like, why is Rory constantly dating strange stalkery men? Like, all of her boyfriends just show up places unannounced and usually have weird conversations with her mother without telling her.
Yeah, well, it's Lorelai. And for some reason, Lorelai doesn't think it's weird that Dean had this conversation with her.
Yeah, and so we spend the rest of the episode with Lorelai being mad at Rory and Rory being mad at Lorelai about how much they talk to Dean. And, oh, you guys must be best friends now and all this stuff. And I was like, man, that whole thing just felt really forced to me. I was like, come on. There's enough conflict in these relationships that I don't feel like we needed to create that there.
I don't think that's true at all. And the reason for that is I think that this is one of the conflicts in Lorelai and Rory's relationship is that Lorelai tries not to be overbearing in the way that her mother was, but is completely overbearing in another way, which is like, I'm your mother and I can ground you, but like, also, I am going to be best friends with your boyfriend and like talk about stuff behind your back and like all this stuff. And it's like a very like, Dean was concerned, I want you to be with Dean because he's what's best for you. And she's like, wait, maybe I won't always want what my mother wants.
Yeah, I mean, that part is important. But the whole, like, I don't know, the argument about it just felt really forced. Like, the slamming of doors and the yelling and the sarcasm. For the first time, the dialogue here really felt like just generic, like, teen drama dialogue. Where she's like, oh, well, if Dean's coming over, it's probably because you're best friends with him, or whatever.
But, like, that's And maybe this is somewhere where, like, I don't know, maybe we can't align on this because I have had not that exact argument with my mother, but like that is very much when you're like 16 years old, that is how you argue with your mother. Like that is like a very, it's a stereotype because it's true. Like I have been known to slam a door in my time. I just remember being like, oh yeah.
I mean, that's fair. That's not really in my experience, so I guess I can't really speak to that.
But if you didn't think the dialogue was, like, well written in that part, like, I understand that, like, the dialogue in this show is so, like, high level. And then sometimes it just, like, kind of farts out.
It does, and that...
To put it intellectually, I guess?
Well, and not even intellectually. It's just, like, I feel like sometimes they go for, like, the cheap thrill. Mm. You know, it's like... This is a really impactful argument, but they're going to go at it in, like, the cheapest, most quickly emotional way.
Right, but it's also a sitcom.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those reminders that it is a sitcom.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. This whole episode was very sitcom-y.
Right.
There's a lot of, like, right guy, wrong girl subplots and, like, general misunderstandings, and, yeah, This is the most sitcom-y that I think the episodes you've given me have been.
And you're not a huge fan of that type of thing. At least not stereotypically, right?
I mean, I like sitcoms, but I think that the sitcoms that I like are usually a bit more... I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of sitcoms post The Office, where they become a little bit snarkier and a little more, like, camera aware and a little bit denser.
Oh, so it's a humor shift kind of deal.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, like, your Arrested Development and Archer and New Girl, like, joke-packed. Yeah, Parks and Rec, like, fast-paced, joke-packed. Whereas this is a little bit slower. It's a little more in the, like, Friends, Seinfeld speed, but without the laugh track.
Yeah, like Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, it's very similar to a Dawson's Creek episode.
Right. I'm copacetic with that. I think that's true. Yeah, I think that is true. And I think it depends. I have such a hard time in this show admitting that it has flaws. Like, it's so bad because it does have flaws. It's a 2000 sitcom. Of course it has flaws. But, like, yeah, it is very kitschy.
And I think it would be... For at least to me, it would be a more interesting show if it had started like 5 or 6 years later and benefited from that density that contemporary sitcoms have. Because you can see it coming in like the reference jokes and things that they do on this show. Like you can feel that trend starting to rise up, but they're just not quite there because nobody was really doing it at that point.
I think it's definitely a precursor. You're right. Like it is one of those transition things because it does strike like a weird balance between like very sharp writing and humor and you know being a drama sitcom combo. Like that's what it is. And I like it because I can appreciate kitsch, I think, a lot easier than you can. Like it definitely within my... Like, I every once in a while I want a show that's basically cotton candy, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, this wasn't a big problem for me. Like, it's very watchable for me.
Oh, it's super watchable, yeah.
Yeah. But then there's a new factor that comes in, and that's Emily. And Emily agrees that Lorelai should keep Rory away from Jess.
Which, of course, means that Rory is running straight to Jess.
Yeah. And Lorelai...
And that's kind of how this episode ends, is with her doing a very serious act of rebellion against her mother and grandmother.
Yeah, but then also Lorelai kind of just is like... Lorelai bends a little bit on it, too, I feel.
Yeah, because she realizes that she's being her mother.
But yeah, Rory is making a decision that is debatable for one of the first times in her life.
And that's That's really interesting to see, and I'm excited to see how that develops.
For some reason, you always kind of thought at the beginning, like, do you remember when we first saw Dean? When, like, he was like, I'm a bad boy from Chicago. You don't know me. I could kill you. Like, I'm wearing a leather jacket. Like, that was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's, like, golden boy compared to Jess, which I always thought was very interesting.
It is, yeah, because looking at the two of them physically, Dean looks much more like aggressive and bad boy,
Mm-hmm.
where Jess is, like, more stereotypically, like, the class clown bully type of character, but he looks like just any other high school kid.
He's that kid just sitting on a bench reading Jack Kerouac outside the school, probably wearing a beanie.
Right, yeah. And so this whole, like, comparison between the two of them, like you said, it just doesn't, it feels weird. And I get the feeling that it's going to go in a similar direction with Jess, where the longer that they're together, the more of a kitschy golden boy he's going to become. And I'm not sure I want that for him.
Well, we'll see. We'll see on that. I'm glad that you're interested in Jess and Rory's future.
Well, I know they're going to date, so it's just going to be interesting to see what that relationship looks like.
Spoilers. Spoilers in the early 2000 sitcoms. It's funny that you
aired
like
literally 15 years ago.
Yeah, but it's funny because like you know like the major points about Gilmore Girls, right? And when we watched Twin Peaks, Force Fandom Season 1, download it where your podcast can be downloaded. I knew nothing. Like, I thought it was about a ski resort.
Well, I think part of that is that we were much younger when Twin Peaks was on the air. I was aware of television when Gilmore Girls was on. It just passed me by. Whereas I think Twin Peaks kind of predates us being aware of TV.
Right. No, I think, yeah, that's definitely true. I agree.
But as far as, like, I know you've mentioned numerous times that there are 3 major boyfriends, and I knew that, like, going into it. I didn't know who they were. And so having seen Jess a few times, I've picked up that he's the second one, and I have no idea who the third person is, but I'm assuming that they'll be introduced at some point.
What if I just, like, it was like, and then Jess never dated Rory. Rory friend-zoned Jess. No. Just never got together. I'm looking also at the like list of references for this, and it's like Ernest Hemingway, but also 7 Brides for 7 Brothers and The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. I forget how assorted these references are.
The reference jokes at the beginning of the episode were strong. They're very strong.
References on fleek.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think we're on the other side of A-Tisket A-Tasket.
I agree. We're closing in on this. We've done 5 episodes so far.
We got 3 more? 3 more?
3 more, yeah.
2 more? Okay. Well, I've got a couple more that I've got lined up. I don't have my next one yet. I have one in mind, which is probably the most popular Gilmore Girls episode of all time.
Then we should watch that one.
No, but I think you might need context before this happens.
I can watch 2. If it's that popular, 2. I can watch 2.
Yeah, but we could watch the first one, and then we could watch the next one for the week after.
We'll figure it out. If you want to help Emily pick the episode that we're going to watch next on the podcast, you can tweet at her at Emily M. Bamforth, and she would be happy to hash it out with you there.
You did my plug for me.
I did.
Also, thanks. Also, just FYI to everybody, we are in the midst of Brunchgate 2K16 on the Dudes Brunch Network. It is a very troubling time. And so I urge you to go over and listen to is it the most recent episode that
the most recent episode as we record, not when this will be out. So it's episode 74 of the Dudes Brunch podcast.
It's called Sean Hates Brunch. And it is challenging the very fabric of not only my being, but many people's being. And I feel like you all should listen to it and tell me your thoughts at Emily M. Bamforth. And
Hashtag
then we can all
Brunch 2K16.
We can all harass Sean Evans because he's wrong.
Well, if you want to talk to me about Gilmore Girls or Brunch, you can follow me on Twitter at TC Olmstead. And thanks so much, Emily, for another fun week of Gilmore Girls.
Hopefully the World Series doesn't happen again and we can actually record on time.
We'll see. We'll see.